And welcome back, guys, to the New South Wales Grand Finals of the Meta High School League of Legends Esports Tournament. Quiddy here again with Mandrix, and a very explosive game one coming out from the Panda Republic here. Very convincing, and what we feared in Champ Select was what happened to the Kings.
Yeah, it completely exploded onto the map as soon as a few solo kills went down. What I really find interesting about it is when I looked at the skirmishing potential for 100 years, it looked like they were beginning to edge out on top. It was 15 minutes or just under 15 minutes, and there seemed to be only a 300 gold deficit between 100 years and the Pandas. And when you look at the late game potential that 100 years had, it was starting to look a little bit dire. But then in the next 3 minutes, it completely swapped around. What the Pandas were able to do with those quick advantages and one decisive team fight in the bottom lane allow them to completely break open the game, continue to snowball that lead into not only just objectives but a Baron, and then with that power play completely remove their competition. So really excited to see what the Pandas can do in the next map coming into it. I'd love to see just a little bit of lane priority come through here for 100 years. I think that might put a stop to this explosive potential that not 100 years has, that the Pandas have going up against them.
Yeah, of course, being in this situation, you got to think now that Panda Republic, they are on match point now. If they take this next game, they're going to take the whole tournament. So the Kings can't afford to, they can't afford to lose another game, basically. And for what they did last game, especially when you have somebody, like Great Name, that are known for playing these assassins. And like you said, player comfort and champion comfort is quite a big factor at this level. So I wonder if during the break, if the Kings have had a discussion, say, look, what we tried, it was a plan, and on paper, we had all the working parts, but we just couldn't pull through in the game. So, do you think they are going to go back to what they are most comfortable with, especially on an individual level?
When I look at it there, it would definitely be an option for them to go back to being, more comfortable with their champion choices. But when I look at the way it played out, I mean, at 15 minutes, it being relatively even, I don't have an issue with that composition they put together. It was just a bit of execution that they need to fix. The fact that they need to stop those massive plays coming through from Pandas before they even start. And again, it came down to the fact that there was a 4-man invade early into the jungle because they were able to get their members there that little bit sooner because of how well that Aphelios was being piloted by Panda in the ADC role, having a little bit of extra damage. I mean, both him and Diana were up there when it came to the amount of damage in terms of what was dealt out. There were two top damage relatively even coming into it. Whereas when you looked at it on the flip side, Norca was the one that was really up there in the damage to the rest of the team. And when you only have one member dealing out, eventually that does mean that your team just dies faster. And because of that, again, they had that 4-man invade, managed to get a 4-for-1 out of that, and then also still had their set continuing to get them gold across the map. They just slungshot themselves into a position where they could control and command the game. And from there, it just looked easy for Pandas. I really want it to be one of those cases if they are going to opt into a late game team that they can just control the Pandas a little bit better, perhaps keep that gold lead within that 1,000 to 2,000 mark, and then they can comfortably use these late game monsters that they want to take into account. So I'm completely fine with them doing it. Just again, that execution, being on top of your warding, understanding the movements from the Pandas will allow them to get to that point and give them a bit more of a competitive game.
Yeah, I want to say something about the itemization too, especially on the Aphelios. So, of course, having a slight lead early, of course, like you said earlier, with a huge CS lead, at one point doubling Norca, his counterparts. And, look at his items. He went for the shield bow. Just having that extra survivability, extra life to sustain in lane should the Jinx tries to continually outrange him, has the life steal. But also what's more important is that straight away after his mythic, went for that Serpent's Fang. You see the Lulu, see the Karma, don't want to deal these shields. Serpent's Fang, second item, straight off the bat. And if we keep looking down his item path, he's actually going for kind of like a straight lethality kind of build, because he does have another serrated Dirk at some points after that Serpent's Fang. And that's actually an interesting thing that's been coming up, not just in this match, but just with Aphelios items in general. You usually see the Runins stock standard, second item, but now there is a trend that where people are going lethality. More commonly that we do see the collector, but of course, Panda Aphelios here having the adaptation to instead of the collector second, going with that Serpent's Fang.
And this is actually something that we see as seasons progress. The games typically take a lot longer at the start of a new season because everyone's beginning to figure out where the particular power points are in the thresholds. Okay, am I strongest here when I go this build? Okay, that's at 20 minutes. How does this affect if I decide to go this build? Now my power spikes happen to happen around 12 minutes. And as people begin to figure out the game, begin to understand all the little nooks and crannies and different power spikes the items bring, it does go, hey, you know what? We can close the game out within 22 minutes. When that happens, when they realize that this can be done, it means that the abilities that power spike that much earlier become so much more advantageous for players. And that's why you start to see a rise of lethality items come to the mix instead of these more late game focused Rune and Hurricanes, attack speed focused builds that might be looking at to remove typically they always remove health pools, but it's actually chew through health pools. So you get your Kraken Slayers. You also get into account the fact that you might be taking a different set of more crit focused builds that do excel in the late game. Don't really matter as much. Basically, you don't need to worry about chewing through tanks if they don't have enough armor yet for them to actually be able to deal with it if you've just gone so much lethality early.
Yeah, and for the side of the Kings, especially in that game, they didn't really have anything in the form of tanks either. Of course, a fair on that Nunu, not he was trying to find opportunities, but every time a Panda Republic able to use their TPs and be able to just rotate in time for counter engages and counter ganks, it was fair at that point. He had the map slowly being taken away from him, having less room to work with, and he just could not get that tankiness and that he wanted. And of course, being pretty much the only engaged in the team, that was just kind of sad to see, because at that point, the Kings, they just could not find anything or make any plays on their terms.
Again, it comes down to the lanes in terms of how the lanes played out. So when you look at it here, you've got basically 3 winning lanes. Probably not the top side, but things were pretty even between Karma and Set anyway. But when you look at the mid lane and the bot lane specifically, 2 winning lanes there allows Diana to look for early engages, come in, drop in some wards within that red side jungle of the Nunu. And by dropping those wards in, you immediately get so much extra vision, so much extra notification when that snowball's coming in as well, which means you're able to back away, choose when you want to take that fight, and limit the movements of the Nunu. And that really is what was the name of the game here for Pandas. They put so much focus on that bot lane of the map because they had control on the bottom side through not only their bot lane, but their mid lane. And that was very quickly identified there by Diana and continued to push through there. And as soon as that broke, the rest of the map broken up for them. So it really is going to come down to them finding lane priority, and at least in this mid lane or in a number of places, and then 100 years working their own game, working their own advantages when they see the opportunity to, rather than reactively moving to the fact that there's always going to be action on one side of the map based off when the lane priority is for Pandas.
Now, we see as we move into pick and ban now, of course, both teams swapping sides for game number 2 with Kingsgrove of the Panda Republic now going onto this blue side, going to get first pick of this pick and draft, and that does mean that the Kings will now be on the red side. And straight away we see here the Phelios and the Fresh just taken off the board.
And that's something that I really didn't expect. It means that Bob3 and as well Norka really felt that was something that was a big weakness. It was specifically the champion picks coming into it. They do, of course, have options again for their Jinx and Lulu to come into play, which I'm probably expecting from those bans. That's what they're going to look to do again, because their game plan probably hinges a lot on Norka and Bob3 performing well. And to be honest, that wasn't the case in the previous match. So looking to see what it's going to be. They're looking to actually swap it around a little bit. Still going to be a hyper carry, but instead of the Jinx, they're looking to probably get that Kai'Sa for Norka.
Yeah, looking for like Kai'Sa, definitely a champion with a more self-reliance, so having more tools to be able to deal with situations, especially that's a champion did slip through that is Rengar. And when there's a Rengar on the map, playing a Jinx is extremely scary. And we do see she's gonna just pop over a few champs, and Vladimir actually, looks like they're still going for that kind of late game. That's where the damage is coming from. But this time, it looks like in terms of at least the champion picks, it is a lot more survivable.
Yeah, the other thing to take into account with the Vladimir is he can take control of lanes. At the same time, Vladimir is very susceptible to assassins like LeBlanc as well. Typically, if you do use your pull, you're pretty much a sitting duck against that high mobility they bring, because you are lacking a little bit of that movement when you need to. So yeah, Vladimir's great in that late game. Yeah, Vladimir's got some survival tools to keep him alive, but at the same time, he's definitely vulnerable to being bursted down, and that does mean that we can see that's going to be picked up by here by one of them, and they're taking the LeBlanc, and that does sort of push Vladimir into that top side of the lane as well, and then forces a counter pick in mid. And a really interesting pick here is the Ashe as someone that is pretty much always going to be relevant throughout this meta, purely because of that long range engagement utility that she brings to the teams.
I really do like the draft coming out from Panda Republic right now. So prior pick Rengar, of course, Panda jungle, very comfortable on that champion, and then Saint doubling down on that. Those mid-game burst assassins, like we saw that Lee Sin last game, lots of mobility, similar thing, able to go in and out, able to just completely burst people, making those plays. Now that you have a Rengar doing that with you, and the Ashe coming through, not only can you, like you said, with the long-range engages, can you set up those picks for these two crucial champions, but it is also in itself sort of a lane counter pick to this Kai'Sa as well.
And now things get very difficult here for 100 years, because as you can see now, they're trying to pinch away those support picks available to them. But with the Ashe, it kind of gets hard. It's like, okay, cool, you can still go enchanters, you can still go tank supports. They tend to synergize very well with Ashe in most situations. He's one of those picks that just slots into any team composition effectively because of the kit that she brings. And you can see they're removing the Rakan, they're removing the Nautilus. I guess what they're trying to identify is there's no real tank that's available now here for the Panda Republic, so let's get rid of that being an option and force it either into the top lane. It's not something they're going to have access to into the bot lane. So probably expecting an Ornn to come out, a Scion, something like that to be picked up here for the Panda top lane. If they really want to flesh out a good team composition, they can still go for pseudo tanks like the Set, like the Renekton, something that's got a little bit of meat to it, but isn't going to provide that super CC chain, that super girth that comes into those team fights when things happen. On the flip side as well, I really do like the pick of the Leona here and the Kai'Sa. That's got some great synergy with the way that the Sunburst comes into attack when Kai'Sa jumps in. So there's two big moments of burst attack coming from both Norca and Bob Sagas, and that also means they're able to jump onto Ashe, who again is also a relatively immobile champion. So if Leona gets on top of one of the Pandas here, whoever the ADC is going to be this like, because I don't know who's sitting where with their names, whoever is the person that's going to be piloting this Ashe or fielding it in this scenario is going to have to do it, and Braum is someone that I didn't take into account. Yeah. Excellent pick. If you want to keep someone safe, definitely going to be the Braum coming into this.
Yeah, Braum coming in for the pick, of course, if he needs to as well, can do a bit of a pseudo engage himself. Like you said, there's a Set coming through, kind of like a bruiser, just kind of beefing up that front line, having an established front line to be able to make something happen. Hovering the Rumble, but actually goes with the Olaf. So that, I'm going to presume, is Olaf in the jungle.
When I look at this, there is a lot of different measures of CC that can come into here. I mean, you've got the Ashe Arrow, you've got the Set that can knock you away, you've got, of course, LeBlanc's Chains, you've got the Braum stun and slows across the board, and, of course, Rengar's can throw out nets. All of that now gets avoided because you've managed to pick up the Olaf here. So you have a number of ways now to really force out a completely different fight or a completely different scenario here because you've picked up the Olaf. The other thing as well is that Rengar typically does get relatively low in the jungle, and when it comes to a one-on-one fight, Olaf will edge out the win unless Rengar's got some combo points tallied up already. So things looking a little bit dicey here for the Pandas, especially with it, because when I look at a composition that has a little bit more, I guess you could say, proactivity, the ability to really fight it out in the early game, that definitely is what the Pandas, 100 years has brought to it. Pandas on the flip side here definitely have a team that can be proactive again as well, but of course doesn't have the same sort of power that it would have had around that 15-minute mark in the previous match.
I do want to mention too, does it look like that the Kings here, are they swapping roles? Because here it looks like these players aren't locking in champions corresponding to their previous game.
Looks
so
like
Norca... Yeah, Norca actually gonna go for that jungle role. I have Bob Saget shifting from that support to the AD, gonna take pilot of that Kai'Sa. And great name on that Leona, of course, as an assassin player, has the kind of style and the innate tendency to make picks and go in. So that is a champion that can facilitate that very well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do love versatility coming through from the teams as well. The ability to play different roles is something that great League of Legends players have the ability. I mean, like to name a few, you're looking at specifically perks, the ability to move between that mid lane, and of course the ADC lane is something that comes into account here. So if you do have the ability to play multiple roles, it's great to have versatility for the team. It allows you to do a bit more. Again, at the same time, there's a reason why they tend to specialize it for that entire season or for that role particularly, because of course that means you're able to know your role like the back of your hand, and of course allows you to start thinking and playing a bit more naturally instead of actually trying to learn a different champion, learn a different role. You're just playing the game in that sense and trying to work out the strategy that your team's trying to do.
Before we get into a short break before the game 2, I just want to thank our sponsors here at Torrens University, Optus and MSI as well. Don't forget, if anyone here is into esports and gaming, they have game design, game programming, 3D design and animation, and of course graphic and communication design courses as well. So don't forget to check those out. And right after we come back, we will go straight into the second game of the series. And welcome back, guys, to the second game of this series of the grand finals for New South Wales. And just as the players are kind of spreading out and chilling, I just want to take this opportunity to remind you guys that there is a PAX VIP experience competition going on. So what's happening is Billy Blue College of Design at Torrens University has got a great competition that's going to allow you to win a PAX VIP experience for 2 people and an online session with a professional league player or streamer from the Legacy Esports team. So all you got to do is fill out an entry form that is online, and you'll find that link in the Twitch chat. So no aggressive invades for Game 1, Mindrix. This time a bit of a chilled start, as these teams kind of had a little bit of a feel-out game last game.
Yeah, with this here, you can expect it always to be a bit chill in the second match. Again, one team has already, played most of their cards, is happy to settle into the scenario rather than rush into it because they do have that extra win up. The other team's obviously playing a bit more carefully as well because realizing this is now their last life. They can't get too aggressive as well, and they don't want to give away too much at the start of the game because they'd rather just play it a little bit more carefully and, of course, look for it to scale towards that 35-minute mark where they're hoping to win better as a team.
Yeah, nice little hop over the wall there by Rengar. Panda gonna be a slightly bit ahead of his player, with Norka also starting from the top side of the map. Now, this bot lane does have a very strong early advantage to the side of this Ashe. Of course, naturally being outranged, and of course the Leona being level 1 as well. And not quite being able to find that gap closer she needs to make this plays. You see her getting punished by these auto attacks, pretty well punished by Ashe.
Is what you're going to expect as well. Basically, you need a few items or abilities be picked up here from Bo3, and of course from a great name before they do want to jump in, specifically that level 2. But of course, with that extra range, the fact that Ashe has more utility at the start of the game, was able to actually just force out a bit of an advantage. You get that level 2 first and continue to push out, and now this is where things start to get a little bit more dicier here for the Panda Republic in the bot lane, because of course now that the level 2 has been picked up, that is that extra spell and ability, the stun combination now available for Leona, and they can choose to engage and be more dangerous when they go for the attack.
Yeah, both junglers here also going for that full clear early on. They're going to end up on the opposite side, so might see a bit of a gang actually coming through in this bot lane soon, as another electrocute proc goes down onto this mid lane. Saint being able to use that sigil along with the distortion and an auto to proc that one twice, getting very strong lane dominance as a LeBlanc is expected, as a Zenith Blade goes a little bit wide in this bot lane. Let's see. The junglers gonna start clearing their final camps now. Olaf looking in a great position to look at this bot lane. Currently no wards from the side of Panda Republic. The pings are coming through this, so they are aware of this, using their lane prior in this bot lane pretty well. So they will get spotted. Runs into Olaf here. Wolfie. Norka does have double buff. Reckless Strike is here. One more stack for the stun. There it is. Wolfie falling really low here. Norka with that blue buff just running out. Panda here on the backside. Stun. Looking for the flash. Well, the stun cleanses onto Panda, but meanwhile Norka finding in a 1v2 has the flash over the wall. Nice rotation also by Saint, looking for something here. Panda on this Rengar, looking for the bush sleeps, and a great name on this Leona is not going to be able to live that one. First blood going towards Panda Rengar. Looks like they're going to keep chasing, but the Kings are going to have to back out of that one.
Yeah, definitely a divide and conquer play coming through here for the Panda Republic. I really liked how they did it. Of course, they had land priority in both lanes. They were able to move that a little bit quicker, but of course, the fact of the matter remains that the Olaf is very good in those 1v1 scenarios, managing to force out Wolfie beforehand. But of course, by ringing around the rosy, being unafraid to flash a little bit earlier, does mean that Panda was able to get themselves, or Panda ADC was able to get into a good position. And then with the strongest members being, of course, the Rengar and the LeBlanc well and truly healthy, Wolfie were able to close out that initial victory, and things looking really good here for the Panda Republic, especially for their Rengar, because Rengar's not only up now on the extra scuttles, he's also up that extra kill, and Norka now really needs to wait for a break-even point in those items before he can really engage, because now with that advantage, things are looking really scary here, especially with how squishy Fledgling Ultimate is, and of course how squishy this Vladimir is. Even Bob Sagas is definitely going to be suffering a little bit until he does pick up a defensive item, whether it's going to be that Mortal Shield Bolt or Oceania's. Both are good options here for the Kai'Sa, but things can become really explosive very quickly here for Panda Rengar or Panda Jungle, especially because he has that Ignite as the damage item as well. As you can see, they're trying to put a little bit of extra damage here as well, but they have a bit of a better composition to force out and trade against it. But the thing here that's really different is, well, that's not different, is of course that CS lead here once again for Panda, who's beginning to edge out against Bob Sagas. And that is a huge deal here, because once again, even if they do manage to pick up kills, it doesn't really matter because they'll be able to have a bit of an advantage in that CS match up. And they're not finding the kills, so things probably will start to snowball out of control here if this continues to be the course for the Panda Republic.
Of course, if you look at the bot lane as well, I do believe that they're trying to freeze for the side of 100 years from Kings, trying to freeze this bot lane, but that does mean that they can't go back and they can't really take a reset. Kai'Sa does have 400 gold, 500 now hitting in her pockets. Not being able to take that reset with Olaf waiting in the wing, trying to potentially bait out a gank here as Norka does eventually show up. Might be a little bit too early though. And TP actually coming through from Saint on this LeBlanc. Norka going to be stunned up, does not have Ragnarok yet. Level 5 going to be instantly deleted by Saint. Panda on the Rengar. Also here, that is a 4-man gank for this bot lane. Looks like they're not quite done. Pings are coming through on this tower. They are looking for this 4-man dive as they do have the minion wave. Roll the hunt. Gonna pop through. Goes straight into Bob Sagas. Kai'Sa down. One more target on the ball of Leona. TP comes through from Glacial Ormond. So is Fair with the Vladimir. Hemo play comes through. Doesn't quite have much damage at this point. Does what he can to deter them. Looks like people are here. And oh my god, Nethergrass going on to Panda Ash. He's going to be flashed on and taken down. Meanwhile, Panda set TP down as well. All the TPs are here. Gonna go in for that base breaker on the 2 people. Fair having to flash away from that one. Saint very, very low here on this LeBlanc. Still looking for more. He is standing on the board. Ethereal Chains with the Sigil pop. Great name. Quite tanky on that Leona. Fair also looking for that kill onto Saint. Does have his red bar. And oh my god, Saint going at a Capian Ray. Not enough damage, but the axe is going to clean him up. And Norka is back, landing in these reckless strikes. Auto attacks coming through. Haymaker coming from Panda Set, trying to stay alive. He's going to get slowed by another axe. Norka picks up another one. Is he going to throw another one? There it is. Misses Panda Set, but lands on Wolfie. Capian Rain again. Not enough. Bob Sagas desperately trying to get these auto attacks. And the shield from Wolfie is protecting him. And the stun as well. Able to clean this up. And Panda Rengar jumping from this bush to clean out this fight. And oh my god, this is their forest, their jungle, their river.
Cody, you can take a break. That was 2 minutes of non-stop action, and it all came off the back of the Panda Republic understanding how to force that gameplay. There was a little bit of an action there when Norka tried to come in, wasn't able to find the mark, but from that point, Pandas understood they can force back-to-back engages directly afterwards by bringing in Saint, who can quickly close any gaps directly afterwards. There was a flash from Wolfie to ensure that the engage went down and Norka would be into place, and then they had 4 members against 2 in the bottom lane, ready to roll, ready to force around with the wave crashing. They were so quick to make that move to jump in, come back around, and force the 4-man dive. The reaction time coming across for 100 years just wasn't there. And of course, Panda up the top lane and set was able to follow through with the action again. And maybe I thought for a second that, you know what, they spent a bit too long. The reinforcements for the 100 units were starting to come back into it. They had a little bit of extra play to come into it, but again, even though they were able to get 1 kill back in return, they continued the chase. They got too greedy, and when you have reinforcements, that means the enemy team has it too. And damn, Saint has got a lot of damage.
Full combo right there onto Glacial. The double Sigil with the distortion and the electrocute as well. And, Nethergrass does go through under the turret, but the chain was already landed, so the pop does go through, able to clean up that kill. And, Panda Rengar, very comfortable, 5-0 now, having an insurmountable lead. Going back to base just then with 2,500 gold, able to get his first mythic item in the game, the first person to get a mythic item in the game. He's sitting extremely comfortable. He's going to clear his whip up again, and he's in a really good position to just jump on people and snowball this even harder.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's just hit the 10-minute mark. Look at that gold lead, 4,000 gold. That is insane to have in a game only 10 minutes of age. That is actually insurmountable, and also take into account there is a Infernal Drake that they've managed to pick up as well. So that's going to even make them snowball faster with the fact that they can scale with this extra gold they've got into place. There needs to be some sort of cheat of tempo coming across here from 100 years. They need to do something really special to start finding picks and stopping the players coming through from the Pandas, because if they can slow them down for at least 7 minutes and get some back-to-back kills, get some back-to-back bounty takedowns, look to focus on specific members. You're looking at your mid, you're looking at the jungler. It's completely fine to miss 2 waves if it means you can set up one of those shutdowns, and that's what they need to do. Just be happy to miss one of those 2 waves and make sure they can spread that a little bit further. But it seems to be Panda Republic once again forcing the engage that a little bit quicker, because here comes Saint.
Saint does get spotted, the pings are coming down. It is very well warded, but a tower dive coming through from the bot lane, and Solar Flare with the slow shield's not enough, so Wolfie's going to be the next one go down. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, Glacial Orb going to get jumped on. Bowler for the stun. Ragnarok have to be popped to get out of the root, and that is more kills going towards the side of Panda. So even though that the original roam from Saint didn't quite, had to abort it, does manage to clean up something with the help of Panda Rengar jumping into his lane.
Yeah, able to trade 1 for 1 there, and again, that is off the back of the fact that there was a little bit of miscommunication. They thought the fight was going to happen in the bot lane. Of course, like you said, Saint had to bail out. They realized the picks are coming to. There was other rotations around the map that stopped it from happening. They were able to get one of the kills that could have been cleaner from the Panda Republic if they said, hey, we're bailing out on the bot lane playing, don't jump in. That would have probably just saved the life of Wolfie. They wouldn't have given away too much gold, but at the end of the day, they're still getting so much advantages across the map. Now that they're dropping down the Rift Child, they're clearing out this mid lane. Saint is now well and truly unlocked to roam around the map, and he just doesn't care. Look at him, just putting damage onto Glacial Augment and forcing more and more plays, and Panda's now making a play into the bot lane.
Oh, he's on the other side of the map in enemy territory, but Saint is here for the backup. Thrill of the Hunt, going to be able to lead onto a great name along with the Bush. Another savagery, going to be able to take him down. And Saint with the double distortion, Killer Instinct, going to try and go back on the ball, and Enchanted Crystal Arrow going to land for that stun. Bowler's going to clean that one up. And Pandas, holy moly, they are running away with this. Meanwhile, on this top lane, Panda set going to be looking for a nice little trade here. Does have the red bar. Fair with the crit pop onto his transfusion. The Hero play does pop. Panda set falling very low here. Fair doesn't quite have the pull to tower dive it. But all is well, though, for the side of Panda Republic. The other side of the map just completely cracked open. And that Rift Herald as well. So beautifully played. Not only was it on a good tower, he also left the lane. So that Saint got all that solo plating gold.
Yes, Panda and Saint. These guys are limit testing at the moment. When I say Panda, I mean Panda Rengar. More than happy to jump in, understanding he has the ability, specifically talking about Panda, he has the ability to break CC chains, become temporarily invulnerable from them. Not really invulnerable, but temporarily be able to break them and move away with that heal after forcing a play inwards, getting mistakes, getting abilities out of 100 years before they go in for the killing blows. And that's just the rest of the team following up here, looking at Panda Ash, looking at Wolfie, more than happy to follow the lead here of Panda Rengar and Saint at the moment. So a lot of different things happening at the moment across the map for Panda Republic, and my god, are they setting up a dynasty at the moment.
Yeah, just got off the dragon, and Saint's just kind of gone in, going by himself. Distortion going to be able to get back out before Great Name manages to land any form of CC. However, they do know that members of Panda Republic are around there looking for this. Tries to run away. Might be a bit too late because Panda with the Rengar, Thrill of the Hunt going to come through. Great Name, again, the target. Solar Flare going to try and delay Wolfie with the shield just in case. Block any return fire. But that's another kill going towards Saint. And I want to say 8-0 on this Rengar. He's sitting very comfortable. Saint is getting these kills now, managing to snowball his mid lane. But every time Panda Rengar has want to go back to base, he has been above 2,500 gold.
When I look at everything's being said, it makes so much more sense now why the Rengar was banned away in the first game. There was a reason why they were trying to chip away at this champion pool for the jungler. As soon as it was alleviated that a little bit because, again, you have such a strong bot lane as well. They realized, hey, we need to make a change on that there. And now he's allowed to roam free with what he wants. Saint now jumping into it.
Oh, and China Crystal Arrow landing on Bob Saget. There's the damage gone. Tries to get past the shield. Gonna get stunned up and cleaned up as well. Norka, next target on the Olaf. Does have Ragnarok though, so only matter of time before he uses Xenoblade. Going for the punish. Nether Grasp as well. Chain CC. The cleanse not enough for all of that. And a nice return kill there for the side of the Kings. Now, it is something, but they need to do a lot more than that to take this map and take this game back.
Again, when I look at the way it all unfolded as well, it was because the Pandas flew too close to the sun and got burned. They were really beginning to edge out the Weeds. Of course, they want to be able to close out the battle, go for a direct win off the back of it here. Now they're beginning to focus on it. Oh my god,
Thrill of the Hunt. The pool could not dodge the damage there. Has to flash out of that one. And Saint with the TP and the Home Guards. Double distortion with the Ethereal Chain. Pop! That is the Blood Lord off to the gray screen. And Panda set. Gonna be happily be able to take this top turret. Now, Glacial Augment trying to move and doing what he can. Knows that members of Panda Republic are nearby, namely that Rengar as well. So it is quite scary. Top turret not quite being taken down just yet on 1 HP. And Glacial Augment just in such a tough spot. When your Malzahar at this point, you can't do much damage. But as Saint gonna try and face chase right into a Xenoblade Chain CC again with the Solar Flare. Saint still makes it out with the help of Glacial Fisher. 1 HP, distortions back. Ragnarok with the axe. Where's that? He's trying to sidestep. Where's the axe? He's just gonna go in for a reckless swing. The true damage is gonna clean him up. And Panda with the axe, got a nice cheeky auto attack on the orb. Xenoblade goes in, but maybe a bit of a miscommunication as he's in by himself. And little KS there. Kill secured by Pandaringa.
And this is what we're talking about. 100 Years need to start edging out, losing a little bit of CS to get themselves in a position to get some bounty shutdowns. And that's exactly what they did there. They managed to get Saint. They found it on the face check. You could tell at that point in time they're wondering, okay, where are they at the moment? We need to get some information. We're trying to get into it. And they had set up a trap. It was set off and they were able to get something returned. Yes, it was a trade 1-for-1 kill, but I would happily trade my support who has no bounty for 1,000 gold off the back of Saint. Now they need to do it to Panda. If they can get Panda, that's going to give them a big opportunity to get some gold injection and find a way back into this game. But I'm looking at it, it's basically almost a 10k gold lead. They've got 2 dragons to the name. It's getting so rough in that sense. And I want to go back to what happened before when Fear was up top. Fear's been playing a pretty good game overall, but when you've got 3 members coming in back to back waiting for you to waste all of your cooldowns, it is just a feels bad moment, especially when of course that gold is being donated back to Panda Rengar in this scenario. I mean, look at him, level 12 to level 9. That's disgusting. Like, that is really rough feeling to have, and it goes back to the way it all played out in that early game. The fact that Panda Rengar was able to get that early game kill, was able to jump around using intelligent mechanics to get some extra damage as well as beforehand, and as the fact that he was able to get 2 scuttles. He's just been controlling this jungle now, and he's edging out more advantages, and Saint is a monster too.
Your Saints are just, you see him just not afraid to go in front of the wave, just looking for these springs of double distortion. Flash with the Nether Grasp with the Chain CC. Still a half health though, not quite enough damage to take down Saint, but is enough to take down Wolfie as the rest of the Kings come as form of reinforcements. And Saint tries to look for another one. Void Seeker lands on Saint. Bob Sager dangerously close. That is a LeBlanc very fed with Magi's. You gotta be very careful. Great name. Looking for another stun onto Ash. Volley is gonna keep them at bay. Now the Kings. Oh, here comes Rengar. Oh my god! Instant deletion. Did not even see a health bar. He is going to get Chase CC though in the middle of 4 people. And China Crystal Arrow going to be able to pick up one with the help. The Panda Rengar does eventually go down. Flash on to this Ash. Going to try and take the CC. But meanwhile, Fear trying to do what he can on this Vladimir. Red bar is coming up. The shield bow has been popped on the Panda Ash. And he is out of mana as well. So not in exactly the best condition to fight. And that was just really tragic because it looked at one point that Kings had it. They almost had it. They got that pick and they were in control as the dragon was coming up. But the flank by Panda Rengar just demolished them.
Yeah, another thing that I really disliked there, actually, from Pandas, even though it worked out for them in the end, was the fact that Panda Rengar died. I honestly feel Panda Rengar could have actually used his empowered Roar to get out, run in the opposite direction. Instead, he decided to try and stand and fight. That meant that he also gave away that massive gold lead that he had, which was a 1,000 gold injection towards 100 years. But at the end of the day, right now, they're just flexing their lead. They're able to still come out on top. They're able to get the towers in return for it as well. Saint is just disgusting. That was unfair. And now as you can see, Norca's trying to get that red buff. We'll be able to get it in the end there as well. But I just want to go back to it again. They're just flexing the gold lead. They're beginning to push it because not only did they get the initial win overall in that skirmish, they got 3 towers, another dragon as well. And that gold lead's just continuing to skyrocket further and further ahead. I think at this point, it's pretty hard. Like, it's going to need some form of miracle for 100 years to get back into the game.
The Cloud Drake going to be absolutely disgusting for the champions on the side of Pandas too, and putting them at soul point after their 3rd dragon just then. And when Saint can just delete someone by not using a second distortion, as we see Wolfie just getting completely changed CC, a bit of an overextension. Now that is not the first time now, that is I believe the 3rd or 4th time that has happened. So yes, Panda has an insurmountable lead at this point, but if this keeps happening, you know, the Kings might just find a way back into this.
I mean, yeah, but it would need to happen, I'd say, consecutively 10 times in a row for them to really slow this down. I mean, the other thing to take into account, Baron's available. You can basically just force this Baron out. I think at this point, Panda Republic can comfortably get in there, put it down. You can see the pings are starting to come out now. They're also timing this with the release of a Rift Herald to basically make it a super safe Baron take. They only got 2 members coming into it. They've got all their lanes pushed out. They've got Saint in the bot lane also creating extra pressure. And this is looking like a very free Baron, and what might also be the nail in the coffin here to actually put away this game.
You see Zonya's now on Saint, having that extra stasis going to be very comfortable for him to just go and make even riskier plays and look for more picks. And speaking of looking for picks, as the Zenith Blade goes on to Distortion already used, there you go, there's that Zonya's to dodge this the Solar Flare. Killer Instinct going for the trace, flashes after LeBlanc. That is so dangerous by yourself. Gale Force as well, trying to get that extra damage, and trying to Crystal Arrow going down. Gonna go wide here, nobody's gonna get hit by that one. Saint still alive. Xenoblade gonna connect, gonna get stunned up. Glacial Fisher is here for the peel. Ragnarok definitely trying to find the back line there. Finds it in form of Panda Ash. Flashes behind it, cutting off any escape route. Doesn't quite find the blast cone to get over. But hold on, Norca pops right over with Wolfie here. Gonna get stunned up. Ragnarok is no longer active. Nethergrass onto Saint. No follow-up damage though. Saint easily Distortion out of that one. The rest of Pandas are here. Panda set, Panda Rengar here for the cleanup. Follow Strike, gonna hit the Voidlings. The slow does not go through. Glacial Augment gonna walk behind his minions. The flash, Facebreaker, he's looking for it. There it is. And that is another kill for Panda Rengar. And the Kings just completely falling apart at this point, trying to hold on to what they can.
That was lovely from Glacial Augment. The use of the Voidling there to block out and actually force through and engage from, forcing out the flash of set in the scenario from Panda's set. So they could basically were able to scoop up a little bit of extra resources, but at the end of the day, everything there was being forced out by Saint. You had a fantastic recovery there from the rest of the team. Yes, they do lose their Ashe, but in return, as soon as they had their Rengar come in for reinforcement, it was a well and true cleanup there. And again, this goalie is beginning to shoot out that even little bit further once again. And this is just getting much more rough now for 100 years. At least they're holding on. At least they've still got their core infrastructure and maintaining those inhibitors, which of course is going to be nice. It means they can rotate quickly or defense back and forth. But there's still some members available with Baron as well. And Saint's coming in for Bob.
Saint, dude. One Distortion. Half HP, and the rest of these abilities just completely pops Bob. And he just is not allowed to play the game. Having 22 stacks on their Magi's right now, that is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And we saw before as well, having that Zonya's, just that extra line of safety, being able to dodge those counter engages like that Solar Flare we saw. Baron buff still active, looking to threaten this bot turret. And we do see Pandas trying to sync pushes on different lanes at once. Those members of King, the numbers are enough to push them off the turret for the time being, but the Pandas are closing in very slowly, and the Kings no choice but to kind of back away as the threat of the jungle is just so huge at this point, as Norca kind of bounces around. That little vision ward gets hit by the chain. So He's just going to easily be able to take this one with the numbers, with Saint just being so threatening here on the wayside, being able to just jump to you from a whole screen away with the double distortion. And there it is. There's that jump. There's a jump again. Straight off spawn. He just came back. Give the man a break, please. And meanwhile, Panda Set just completely cracking this top lane. Inhibs finally exposed with the help of a Baron buff. Both Inhibs being focused on the same time.
They just knew that. Bob Sagas had no support, was too far away from Leona, too far away from Virtual Augment to be shut down, immediately jump on the option of the fact that, hey, you guys can't get me if I decide to go for this. Really, like, it's a bit of one of those scenarios where you need to be sitting with your CC to be protected from this LeBlanc, and this seems to be the nail in the coffin now. They're just closing it out now.
Baron buff has run out though, so their minion waves are dying really quick on the side of Pandas. Midwave is pushing in, so they might look to take that one next as they rotate to that. Panda Rengar on this front line, trying to do a little bit of zoning. So that is the last inhib tablet for the side of Kings being taken off the board, and the last inhib too, so triple inhibs. Looks like they want to take this reset. Cow Dragon is up as well for that soul, which is going to make this even more deadlier, getting that extra move speed and the ultimate cooldown on those champions. Now, I think Saint just recalled and teleported straight back in. Got that Cosmic Drive up for extra cooldown. Here we go. Hemo Plague fully engaged with the pool. But what are you going to do now? You got nothing. Going to get immediately taken down straight out of the pool. And Nethergrass onto Saint. That's a good target, but not quite enough follow-up. He's going to have the Zonyas to help him keep alive under the tower. Bob Sager doing what he can with the Killer Instinct. Just too behind to do anything against the Ashe. And that is a cleanup by the Panda Republic. First, Nexus turret. Super minions are piling in. Second, Nexus turret being focused down. Auto attack by auto attack. There's the super minions. Both Nexus turrets down. Nexus exposed. 15 seconds on the closest member of the Kings, and the Nexus is just going to get slowly eaten by these minions. And congratulations to Panda Republic from Kingsgrove North High School on winning this tournament.
And from start to finish, that game was the Panda Republic's game to win. The ability of them to just take that slow lead initially off the fight from the Scuttle Crab allowed them to establish fantastic control, just not only in their bot lane, but in their mid lane and, of course, in their jungle. And everything when it comes down to that player directly afterwards in the bot lane was played through from there. And from that, it was just too easy for the Pandas to close out this game because it was methodical. Look at that goal. That is over 20,000 to their name. That is pretty disgusting, I must admit, as a way to have in a game that is supposed to be competitive. So, I mean, I love some of the plays coming through from 100 years. You can definitely see they had the ability to make it work, but the snowball from the Pandas from the very beginning was just too much for 100 years to overcome. So massive congratulations there coming across from Kingsgrove North High School to pull that one off. Just checking to see there. Can you guys? I think Quid is muted at the moment.
It just seems
there we go.
They take this victory so convincingly. 2 games with Wolfie as a substitute player. That kind of shows that they have been at least doing a little bit of homework with this new player. They had the communication is there. You saw the engagements with the freshers in the first game. Wolfie as well, with a couple of instances in game number 2 where he was weaving in and out with the shields, being able to bail people out as well, showing up huge here in this clutch moment at this grand finals for his team.
And what I also want to take into account here was the fact that they didn't put the medals up. These guys were extremely proactive from start to finish, not just in this game, but the previous game as well. So pretty excited to see how these guys do progress in future tournaments as well. I hope they remain a solid team because even with their substitute Wolfie in play, they've got some pretty solid lineups going forward. Again, I want to talk to the valiancy, the credit I want to give it to 100 years for showing up, for playing a pretty damn good game, a pretty damn good tournament. Because to get to the finals is still no small feat, and these guys definitely have the ability to take it to Pandas in the future. It's just a matter of sanding down some of those rough edges that you might have accumulated over time, just to being a little bit more sharper on those plays and execution so things can go and take different turns.
I do want to say it is a very close one in terms of the MVP award, but I do just by a tiny bit. I do want to say Saint. We'll take that one. Panda Jungle was very close contender, just very close, and he definitely was in game 2, especially just this game, having that huge lead, being able to snowball it towards Saint, and Saint just edges out because able to make those plays very confidently on the Lee Sin in game 1, able to make these catches going in and out, generating so much pressure, not only in lane, but also throughout the whole entire game. And yes, he did get a lot of help from Panda Jungle this game, and that played a huge factor, but you can't exactly discredit him in this game either because he definitely used that lead to its full potential.
Look, I have to sit into. There was a bit of a fight here. Me and Quody were fighting back and forth. He's like, that's Panda Rengar this time around. And I'm like, nah, man, it's got to be Saint for the series. It's got to be Saint. Yeah. And I want to explain my reasoning for that is there. Because yes, Panda played a fantastic game too. Was definitely the person that, if I had to give an MVP for the game, I would give it to Panda Rengar.
Panda Rengar, yeah.
But if I had to give an MVP for the series, I'm looking at Saint. Because part of the reason why Panda was able to get such a strong lead was because of Saint initially. Saint was able in this game to actually push out his lane early, get an advantage over Glacial Augment, and then directly afterwards follow that to allow him to get the second scuttle, giving him an advantage, also granting him that second kill by actually donating it to him in that scenario. The next play after that, directly afterwards, was a teleport play from Saint early on in the game, which again slingshotted them even further into the lead. And then when I looked at how Saint played in the initial first game beforehand, that was amazing on the Lee Sin. Again, Lee Sin has relatively become normal in the laning play, but the ability to move in, lock down specific members, again, looking at Bob Sagas and removing him from the map, or Bob Sagas and Norka and this in both games initially, getting rid of that ADC damage threat both times allowed the rest of his team to get in there and really take the win. So I'm really putting my money here on Saint as the MVP for the series.
Just for the record, I also went with Saint. It was definitely a close one.
It was close. He was like,
very close. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if it was just this one game, I would, yeah. And you're like, man, but Panda, how much was he able to do? And it was like, look, you'd be surprised how good we're able to type in between games. Okay.
Yeah. As we do, going to be throwing over quickly to an interview with the team captain of Panda Republic, as we be in just one moment. And Panda's definitely, you really think that they were really hesitant, especially at the start as well. They were really struggling to kind of find that kind of the filler for that sub in terms of Wolfie. Yeah, and having him's kind of coming at the last second and in such a high pressure situation. It is the grand finals as well. You got to think that Wolfie himself, he is under quite a lot of pressure, and having to be able to perform like that under that pressure is some sort of a feat that should be given credit to.
I think one of the things we take into account here is the ability to slot in. Wolfie performed fantastically under the pressure, like you said before. But again, the ability just to come at the last second, understand how the team plays, be able to play with them effectively and aggressively as well. Because the initial start for Wolfie with that thresh was really amazing. Every single time he landed a hook, he was jumping in, following through the flame, making sure the lantern went out to bring the rest of the team in for support. And that was really also driving a lot of the aggressiveness in that mid game for the Panda Republic. So it wasn't just one of those scenarios where I'm coming in to fill a slot. No, I'm actually being a part of the game plan as well. And that's really something that I want to point out as being pretty damn good here coming across from Wolfie.
Yeah, Wolfie fully clutch for his team, but Saint absolutely had a nice little run in this tournament. But for the side of the Kings too, it really felt like that there was something that they could have done. There was something that they had that they didn't get an opportunity to use, whether it was trying out a different strategy or whether it was, they did swap players at one point, which is, it does show their versatility. But it is a very controversial thing when it comes to these tournaments. And it is like, if you do swap roles, is it really a wise thing to do? Is it really a wise thing to stick with kind of the same type of game plan? A best of 3 isn't very long. You only have a 1-game buffer. That's not a lot, if anything at all. Do you think they should have pulled out anything else in their books rather than kind of going with sort of the same flow between these 2 games?
If I had to give my personal opinion on it, I would have preferred they had a specific game plan that they stuck to. They didn't actually deviate from it and really just focused on that execution. Of course, that wasn't the way things played out. I completely agree with you in the sense that you don't have enough time to actually play out how swapping roles around is going to play into it. If it was a best of 5, yeah, maybe that might work out a little bit better. And a best of 3 is probably best to just keep everyone into a position that they're actually greased in, that they actually are warmed up on, and continue to play the entire way through. It is very hard to say what is actually the best way to play this game. I mean, it is a bit worked out that everyone says, hey, you've got to roll, stick to it, make sure you learn the champions for that specific meta that's coming into play. But no one's really experimented with that concept of, hey, let's begin to just shift these roles around and make it so that everyone's playing different roles to different levels, to different varying degrees. And how is that going to play into it? I would love to see a professional team experiment with that, because I think the gameplay that would evolve from it would be so interesting, because you then start to get these ideas of, oh, hey, you know what? This guy's really good on this particular champion in this particular role. That would put this player on this position through an absolute ringer, because they just don't have an answer to it. And it then begins that all these players need to start having more answers to more situations, and that creates a hell of a different game coming into it. Again, not what's going to happen here. I don't see it being the case, because when you look at the way this game evolves as time happens, it's so hard to learn so many different champions, understand different metas as they evolve, the different changes to the items as time goes on as well, what's weaker, what's stronger, what ends up rising up because certain things become popular. That's the step lock cycle. Something else might be a lot more popular, and then what ends up happening is that there is a clear counter that comes into play directly afterwards. That's why you start to see assassins move in when there is a lot of control mages in favor. And then when those control mages when it starts to shift towards the assassins, then you start to see the tanks start to come back, because they're just so much more effective than the bruisers in the top lane. And then because the tanks come into play, you start to see the utility ADCs come into play, because it's so much harder for the carry ADCs to take roles into it. And so all of a sudden these things start to really just completely to loop around, and that's why the meta changes. It's a step lock cycle, and it makes sense to have things a little bit more controlled, a little bit more narrowed, because that way you're able to shift into that step lock cycle a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I kind of feel, especially for anyone that also played their solo queue games, they can kind of relate to Kings as well, in the sense that they do pick these champions that are on paper very strong champions, can technically 1v9, but first of all, you're in a team environment, but it also felt like that, champions like Kai'Sa, like this Vladimir, also the KO last game, they just didn't quite get to play the game.
Exactly. It's not fair to really put it down to the champions or the players in this case, in this scenario, because you have to take into account the way the game played out. When the gold leads get to that point, there is nothing to do. Doesn't matter if it's a Kai'Sa, doesn't matter if it's an Ezreal, doesn't matter. At that point, once those break points have been hit, someone's going to win. Doesn't matter if it's a LeBlanc, right? You could have a Maokai with that gold lead just completely delete an ADC, right? It gets to a point where it's just too hard for you to overcome, because that person literally just has too much AD, too much AP, too much spell pen. Yeah. It's just too much. And at that point, it doesn't come down to, okay, I've got a champion with a specific kit that's able to counter in that way. It doesn't matter. It's that idea of, hey, you know what? Rock always beats scissors. Well, hell, if you've got 100 scissors, I'd be a bit worried for that rock. You get what I'm saying? That's literally what it comes down to in these cases. Sometimes strategy just goes out the window.
Yes, in one moment here, we're going to take an interview with Saint from the Pandas Republic. And first question I want to ask you is, Saint, what a stellar performance so far on to this series. And did you feel the pressure, and did you feel any sort of any external factors that might affect your performance within the series?
Oh, he's a bit soft there. I'm not sure if he's coming through. Maybe his mic is muted. Maybe Saint's just so overwhelmed with the victory right now.
He's in shock.
Saint, let me know. Give us an idea when you're ready to roll, my friend. A little bit of technical difficulties as he sets up his Discord through us at the moment. We do get sent to come back. I do want to just throw in that I want to throw a question in there as well, Qwerty, if you don't mind. So when we do get him to answer your initial question of that pressure that you had to get through, what you had to go through to get this work, I do have a follow-up as well.
Of course, being in someone in these shoes, most of these people that are doing this is for the first time, and they are playing, in these events for the first time, and that experience is something that hits every player very differently. Some people choke, and some people let it, they just fly with it. And as we can see, Saint kind of flew with it, to say the least. So the thing is, it's very difficult to kind of gauge the environment in terms of how you perceive the live crowd, whether you do feel the pressure, because for some people, it's very amazing how they process their environment, because as soon as they put on their headset, as soon as they start talking to their team, as soon as the champ select is started, everything just disappears, and all they
I can see Saint
is the Saint. Yeah. And Saint is here finally to join us. So Saint, how do you feel after the game? How did you deal with the pressure, if you felt any at all? Oh, there he goes.
We had him. He's gone. Is he back? Okay. Let's see. I think he's about to rejoin again. Let's see if we can get him back in. He's got I can see it's muted there now. He's in the waiting room. Let's see if we'll get him back in just a second while we're getting ready to wait for it. So I think we should be good. I can see him once again. Let's see if we can push him in to the next part of it. We will get it. Sometimes these things happen, of course. We are doing everything online. We're doing everything at a point where these players haven't been through the process the same way that we have been as well. So believe me, when I was first setting up the way that we use the technology to get into it, I was doing the exact same thing. So it is a bit of a learning process for everyone. Let's see if we can get him. I think we just need to drag him in perhaps to the room. Let's see how we go.
Yeah, he is
getting it through. Here we go. He's been dragged in.
Hello? There he is.
There we go.
Welcome, Saint.
Which is talking. I'm on my phone here, so I couldn't really use the audio at the same time and the camera.
That's all good. Yeah. As long as we can hear you, that's all we need. And I believe. Right. I think we'll let Qwerty just repeat the question for you again.
Yeah.
Sure. It is the grand finals, and teams have put in a lot of hard work to get to this point, and this is the match to win it. Did you feel any pressure at all, and how did it affect you and your performance in the series?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of pressure. One of our players, as you see.
Do we lose him again?
I think we've lost him. There's a bit of an issue with the internet connection. Let us know when you're back there, Saint. The void there again. There's just some issues with the internet, and it does happen. These online broadcasts, there's some limitations that we can do there.
Fund us for live event.
It's true, it's the way it goes.
Yeah, it is.
Come on, Saint. You can do it, friend. We believe in you. We believe in your internet.
It's held up this entire tournament. Don't stop now.
Exactly right. I mean, Saint's been performing throughout the entire tournament. You'd think it's going to be good. You know what it is? Sometimes it's just the phone itself. Because as he mentioned, he's doing it on the phone. Unfortunately, sometimes the internet connection is not the same there. We've lost him. Now he's going to see if we can get him back in. Let's see how we go. Hey, Saint, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you again. All right. Give us the answer, my friend. You might have to repeat it a little bit.
The answer? Okay, so I'm just trying to remember the question. Yeah, so the pressure, is that what you guys said?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming in today, we did have to find the sub, so the pressure was there for that. but we did have a plan. We wanted to come in aggressive. We wanted to, really try to control the map. You know, also just a side thing. I applied to D3 on TFT so they could be intimidated when we're in the lobby as well.
Mind games.
Yeah, mind games. Also, with the LB pick, I saw that was a surprise. It was a hidden pick. I did practice on a different account just so I couldn't get scouted. I tried a bit of Gwen, just in the jungle, but I didn't have too much success. I was like, oh, maybe they'll ban it, but I mean, they saw what happened there. Overall, the pressure was there at the beginning, but I think after that first game, we kind of all warmed up as a team, and we just think the communication was smooth. We could execute the plays. Some were a bit sloppy, but we just tried to go with it.
It was definitely successful, and I could really see that there was that shift towards it, especially when you guys decided to shift into the Scuttle Crab early, giving a massive advantage for Pandoranga. Also, wanted just to have a quick discussion about this being a tournament that's gone over for a number of weeks. It's not just performing on the day; it's performing throughout the entire thing that came into it. Did you guys have organized scrims that we went into play, or was it more along the lines? Yep. No, go for it.
Yeah, we did. We did end up scrimming with one of the New Zealand teams. We played a scrim or two against them. I think best out of 3. But for me, during the weeks I've had TAFE, so I wasn't there to make all the games for our teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really proud that they could make it there just because of the time. I'd come back about 5:30. Sorry, I'd finish TAFE at 5:30, come about 6 or something. So it was a bit hard for me to get the practice in, and as you know, we're all in year 12, so
Exactly.
you have the trials, the whole COVID thing. It's like things getting pushed back, so we didn't have too much time to practice, as you might guess. But we did put in the effort as a team as a whole. You can't just say it was a individual thing. We really all tried, and yeah.
Well, it definitely showed, and you guys won out that endurance competition. So again, big congratulations there. Qwerty, I believe you might have had a few more questions that you wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, sure. Saints, just want to get your opinion and your experience of what was like, just being with your team and practicing with your team throughout this entire tournament.
I mean, right now we sound pretty organized, but as you could guess, at the start, things weren't as smooth sailing. A bit of limit testing and stuff. But overall, the practicing, we kind of just got a rhythm going, and after that, it was just rinse and repeat.
And routine's important in that. So you go for it, Qwerty. You go after that one.
I mean,
also, I did want to.
Go for it.
Say that we did play together last year in this competition. So it's not like we had no experience together, we played last year. I think we won last year as well, and then we made it to the is it nationals, the next one up from this, and we made it to the grand finals for that one, but we lost to New Zealand, unfortunately. But yeah, so we have gone together quite a while, but obviously new meta, HSE, it's it's a bit difficult with the practicing sometimes, but yeah.
And how do you feel representing your school in all this?
Yeah, honestly, so we go to a Kingsgrove North High. That's obviously a public school, and so we're not as the school isn't as involved as some other schools might be. It's something as a friend group we try to implement. We got it in last year, we got it in this year. They don't actually know we ended up playing this. They didn't actually know we ended up winning. Obviously, we just won now, but I think they had bigger things on their mind. So the support from the school, of course they support us, but it was more so just us as a friend group trying to have some fun, enjoying what we play, and if you can play League of Legends for school and not procrastinate when you're meant to be doing your exams, it's also a advantage, I suppose.
Nice little bonus, yeah.
And yeah.
Big thank you to Saint for joining us here, and of course, congratulations to your team, Panda Republic, from Kingsgrove North High, on winning this tournament. I hope that the fire takes you and your team and your fellow members to new heights. Thank you once again for joining us, Saint.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good day, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
See ya.
And just before we wrap up here, thank you to Billy Blue College of Design at Torrens University and Optus MSI. If you're into gaming, if you're into esports, don't forget to learn more about their game design. They have game programming, 3D design and animation, and also graphics and communication courses. So don't forget to check those out, guys. Thank you guys once again for joining us here today at Meta HSE. I have been Qwerty. With me is Mendrix, and we will see you next time.